baby, don't stop. You can have it, you can have it all. Let's go to the top, baby, don't stop. Love, joy, peace, good life and family. We'll get success. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to the Jewel Tankard Talk Show. If it's your first time watching, let me tell you something, you're in for a treat. We're going to be dealing with everything from faith, family, finances, fatherlessness, marriage, every aspect of your life. We're going to deal with it and hopefully offer some resolution and healing to it. But today, we're going to be talking about a topic that's definitely near and dear to my heart. I was married before. And so my Cyrene's biological father, my ex-husband, is not as involved with Cyrene's life as we would like. And then, of course, I'm now married to the wonderful Ben Tankard, who I love so much. Wonderful father today. But during the children's formative years that he had with his ex-wife, there were many years that he was on the road touring. And so we've had a lot of healing to do, and you probably witnessed that on our hit reality show, Thicker Than Water, on Bravo. But today, we're going to be talking to one of our spiritual sons in the ministry and his father, talking about fatherlessness and what happened there. So I hope today offers a lot of healing for you, so stay tuned.
Impact is digital. Impact is community, where differences in background, color, culture, and thinking unify to provide solutions and spark innovation. Where thinking different makes you distinct and not an outsider. Where when a neighbor is weak, another comes in strength. The Impact Network, for spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Welcome back to today's Jewel Tankard Talk Show, and we're going to have some good conversations. But right now, we're going to be talking about the millionaire's tip. Yeah, you're going to get that because I think it's important. Everything you spend time thinking about gets bigger in your life. So I'm going to say it again. Everything that you spend time thinking about, it actually gets bigger. It grows. So intentionally spend more time thinking about your money, not your current financial situation. So let's just say you're living from paycheck to paycheck right now, broke, boasted, disgusted, can't pay your bills. Don't keep thinking that way. Start dreaming about what your life is going to look like tomorrow. The best way to break the cycle of poverty, the best way to go to the next level is to dream about not where you are, but where you're going. Get yourself a vision board. And on that vision board, cut out pictures in the magazine, tape it on a poster board, write up under it how much your net worth is going to be, write up under it what you want to do. Some of you may be called to open up a homeless shelter. Some of you may be called to open up a domestic violence shelter. Some of you are called to feed the hungry. There are many different things that you're called to do, but you cannot do it if you don't have enough money. And I hate poverty with everything that's in me because it kills your ability to have options. You know what? I want you to be able to send your children to the best schools. I want you to be able to drive the best, live in the best, dream the best. I don't want there to be anything lacking in your life. So you need to make a vision board today. Write out your goals. All successful people have written goals and then put a time period on it. Put down 2015. These are the things that I'm going to accomplish. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to take care of myself better. I'm going to dress the part. You know what? You could be in the middle of a financial rut, but nobody has to know it. Get yourself up in the morning and start your day right. Don't walk around the house all day long, lady, with whirlers up in your head. Take them things up out your head and get yourself together because you're going to set the tone for the rest of your day. So get up, get going, put on your best clothes, put your makeup on, do whatever you got to do so that you can become your best. Listen, so much about you walking in your financial destiny really depends on it. And so I do want you to have your best. The other thing that I want you to do, after you write out your goals, get an accountability partner. You know, you guys have met my best friend, Takoa, my other best friend, Janetta, which is my sister, and we talk all the time. This is my goals. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. This is where I want to be. You need to be talking about where you want to go tomorrow. You know, some people say, well, I ain't going going to talk about it till it show up. Girl, please, the Bible says to call those things that be not as though they were. So you need to start calling it. You call your future into existence. I met my husband Ben because I called him into existence. Yes, I did. His dark chocolate fine self. I called him in, honey. Okay, so the life that I'm living today is the life that I saw yesterday. So put those things, write those things down, get yourself an accountability partner, get yourself a vision board, a dream board with pictures of what you want your life to look like. Now, this is a true story. You know, I was married before. And after my ex-husband, he just called one day and said he wasn't coming back, honey. And so I got myself quickly together, honey. I went out and got a new weave, went on vacation to Hilton Head with my girlfriend. This is a true story. I sure did it. And what I did is I immediately got a vision board. And you know, the first house that Ben bought me was a house that looked just like the vision board that was on my closet in my parents' house when I was living with them. So I can tell you right now, whatever you think about, you're going to become it. So don't be lazy on your dreams. All right, now I want you to stay tuned for a break. I got great guests coming. In the news today, are you prepared for retirement? What if you live to 95? You know, there are millions of Americans right now, especially baby boomers, that are really have hit a critical time in their life because they didn't expect that things would cost as much as they cost. I mean, I talked to my grandmother and she's like, oh my gosh, a loaf of bread, it's $5, $6 a loaf, especially if you want the organic kind. When she was coming up, she said you could go to Wonder Bread right here in Detroit and get it for 99 cents, 50 cents. Are you serious? So what's happening is you have so many Americans that are preparing for retirement at 65. So let's just think about this. Let's just say you have $500,000 in your 401k. Doesn't sound bad, $500,000. But let's just say your lifestyle calls for about $100,000 a year. How long is that really going to last you? If you're 65 right now, which by the way, the new retirement age, according to our government, has changed now to 72. Why? People are having to work longer so that they can sustain their lives longer. People are really living much longer than what they used to. And statistically shows that women usually live a lot longer than men. So you have to ask yourself, have you prepared for retirement? $500,000 in 401k, it takes you $100,000 a year. You're going to be out of money at 70 years old, which is why Sam Walden from the Walmart created jobs for senior citizens. I mean, no senior citizen, more than likely, let's say just wants something to do, wants to sit there all day long watching people come in and out. Maybe they do because they want something to do, but if you do it, I want a senior citizen to do it because they want to do it, not because they have to do it. And guess what? You may be young and vibrant now, but at some point you're going to want to retire. So you want to make sure that you look at your financial portfolio, consult with a financial advisor so that you don't find yourself there. Listen, we're getting ready to go to break, but I got great guests on fatherlessness. We'll be right back.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move?
In March from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma is loud for every man, woman, and child.
We will not wait any longer.
In front of a crowd.
Mine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Welcome back to the Tankard Show. If you're just tuning in, today we're going to be talking about fatherlessness and the impact that not having a father has on the children and really the entire family. Now I'm going to tell you, this is a subject near and dear to me. My wonderful husband is an amazing father now, but in the children's formative years, he was a musician and traveling and not there for pertinent things like recitals and games and things like that. And so we've had to walk through a lot of healing and restoration as a family together, and it hasn't always been necessarily the easiest thing. And so this is really near and dear to my heart. So I want to just thank you in advance for even having the courage to come on and share your story, because it's not always the easiest thing, but I think it's going to help a lot of people. So I want to ask you first, Ray, who decided to reach out to who? Did your dad seek you out? Did you seek him out? What happened there?
Well, actually, I looked for him. several years ago, I tried to look for him. I went through all the search engines and whatnot, and I couldn't find him. I think last year, right after Father's Day, you know, it just really hit home with me. And I said, man, I wonder if my dad is still alive. And, you know, I had those deep burning questions on the inside. And so I talked to my pastor and I said, hey, you know, do you think it's too late?
And your pastor, Dr. Ben.
Dr. Ben
Okay.
Tankard, that's right.
Yeah.
and he said, well, hey, you know, it's never too late. I mean, if he's still alive, it's not too late. But if he's in the grave, you can't ask those questions.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and look for him. And lo and behold, Facebook of all places, I looked and found him.
Wow.
And so I sent a message on Facebook, and I said, do you know a gentleman by the name of Larry Colbert might have lived in Buffalo? Because he was in Detroit.
Wow.
And so he messaged me back, and he said, yeah, I know Marcia, and I'm your dad. Just like that. And I was like, okay, that was quick.
Yeah.
And so then I exchanged numbers, and I called him up, and we talked, and this was around June.
Okay.
And then I said, well, hey, I'm on vacation in July, you know, can I come see you? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Wow. So now let me ask you, Mr. Colbert, what happened in your life while you weren't a part of his life? What happened there? What were the circumstances there?
Well, I had been in a little trouble with the law, and so I was trying to turn my life around, so to speak. And at the time I met his mother, we had just become friends, and we were friends, and we became close. And after that, I decided to join the Army, so I was going away.
Gotcha.
So I wouldn't have been there in his life when he came along anyway, so we decided together, me and his mother, that he should go and live with excuse me, his aunts, as they were in a better financial situation, in a better part of town, and they would provide, you know, a more structured upbringing for him. So we both agreed to it, and so I went that way, and she went that way.
Gotcha. So when you left for the Army, was there anything in you that said, and there may not have been, but was there anything in you that made you say, man, I need to reach out to my son, I need to at least have a relationship, I want to see how he's doing?
Well, she didn't want me to do that. And she thought it would create more problems than it would solutions, so I just went along with it, and time went by, and Facebook came up.
Wow. So now that you've reconnected with him, which I think is amazing that you've done that, how does that feel?
Well, you know, feel like a part of you has been healed, or like you've been wounded in a spot, and it heals. And it feels good, because I still have a son out there that I haven't been able to be a part of his life too. Okay. And so he won't understand what it feels like to be rejoined with your family. It's family. Right. And we've always been raised to be close as a family. Right. And I always thought about that, but I still respected his mother's wishes too.
Gotcha. So did you know your mom felt like that?
I really didn't know the whole dynamics of how, you know, they hooked up and got together. I found out later on how they got together, but I realized as I grew up, when I lived with my great aunt, is actually my grandmother took care of me when I was born, and then after she passed, then her sister adopted me. Gotcha. And so I didn't know that they had all agreed that, okay, this is what we were going to do.
This is what's going to be. Because we're going to go to a break, but I want to know, do you still have some resentment and forgiveness? We're not going to talk about it now. But listen, stay tuned. This is really good. Thank you.
Impact is digital.
Impact is liberating, presenting life in its fullest and releasing your greatest potential, uncovering your purpose and your destiny, bringing spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and financial empowerment so you're free to live your calling. The Impact Network, for the spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Hey, welcome Welcome back to the Jill Tankard Show. I hope you've been tuning in. Been powerful show today. Listen, I also am getting ready to welcome my good friend Ben, and I love her. Our entire family loves her. Clinical psychologist, none other than Dr. Sherry Blake. Woo! Thank you. Welcome. This woman is amazing. She's writing for Essence Magazine every single week on relationships and every kind of relationship. She also does the Essence Festival. She just came out with a new book that she's going to be talking about that will absolutely change your life. And then, of course, you've seen her on Braxton Family Values, our sisters there, helping them to heal their relationship. And also, most recently, Housewives of Atlanta, helping Candy and Todd with some sexual intimacy issues. So definitely, I'm super excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Love you.
So we're going to have you come in and weigh in just a moment. But before we do that, right before we went to break, we were kind of getting into, because you had 30 years of never knowing him. Is that right?
About 40.
About 40 years of never knowing who your father was. You decided to reach out to him. You had been looking for him. You finally found him on Facebook. He owned it, said, "I am your father." My question is, obviously you guys have started to rekindle a relationship, which I really commend you for doing that. Mm-hmm. But is there still resentment or unforgiveness there for not being there all these years, or where are you at emotionally with that?
Emotionally, I think I'm pretty much healed from that, because I was angry. I was angry, I was mad, I was bitter for a lot of years, and I kind of blocked it out. You know, there was a void missing, because for me, that question was, you know, how could my dad leave his firstborn? I was his firstborn son. Okay. So in my mind, I just couldn't understand that. And so, because I have 3 daughters, so I just couldn't understand that. So I was angry and mad for a long time. Okay. And then after that, you know, after I felt like I'd gotten past that, the bitterness and the unforgiveness, then I was able to really search him out and reach out to him. Because I knew he was, the last time I saw him, I was 2 years old. Wow. And my mom actually was shocked, because I called her up and she said, "You remember when you went to his house? I remember the beads and the red light, you know, when I was 2. I didn't know I was 2. I thought I was older." Wow. But she said, "No, that was about 2 years. You were about 2 years old." Wow. So that's the only memory I have of him and I together.
So, Mr. Colbert, let me ask you this. How has it been with you? Now he's reached out to you. You feel like that void has been filled to some degree. I hear you shared you had another son out there. How do you feel like you're doing with rekindling that relationship? I mean, who calls who the most? What's that look like? Because the relationship are 2 parties.
Yeah. I think I reach out to him a little bit more, because, I mean, I felt like the relationship there was so much distance, right. And I felt like I had matured enough, and I wasn't angry, so I wanted him to feel comfortable. Okay. And I didn't want him to feel like, you know, why did you do this and that? I didn't want him to be burdened with that. Right. I just wanted my dad to be a part of my life. Wow. You know, I just wanted to be his son, and I wanted him to feel like, hey, we can talk. You know, we're boys. You know, you're my dad. I love you, regardless of what the past was, because I can't change that. Right.
You just are so glad to have a father that's here right now.
Here now, alive.
That you're not even going. And I think that's a very mature place, because I think that I don't know how many people could not be trying to go back and relive the past on that. So, Mr. Colbert, where rekindling the relationship is concerned, how does it feel weird for you picking up the phone and calling him? Because it sounds like he's taking a little bit more of the initiative.
Well, I'm not a real phone person, but I get the urge to call him sometimes. I know he's busy all the time, and I'm busy too. But I try to call him, and it's a sincere thought when I call him. You know, I know why I'm calling. He knows I love him, and our family's always been a loving family. We stay tight, we fall apart, we come back together. But we all love each other.
That's good. So last question, because I want Dr. Sherry to weigh in on this. How has rekindling your relationship with your father or the lack of having him in your life, how has it impacted your children? Because I love your girls. You got 3 beautiful girls. And
yeah, after I found him that first month in July, I said, well, I wanted them to meet their grandfather, you know, because he's the only grandfather they got left.
Right.
And so I brought them up the following month, and they got to meet him, and they were all excited, and they love it, and they love him and his wife, and they got to meet their aunt, my sister, because I didn't realize that I had 2 other brothers and 4 sisters.
So they're just happy to have a family.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, an extended family, so now they're just excited about Papa.
Yeah, that's great.
So they love that fact that, you know, we have that relationship.
That there's a relationship is there. So Dr. Sherry, I know you know.
You know, as I'm listening to you, first of all, I want to commend both of you, because it's hard, 40 years, you know, to reach out, number one. Sometimes people get stuck in their anger, and their anger will not allow them to move forward. And also, you know, it was brave of you, and it took a lot of courage to say, hey, I'm your father and I want a relationship. And you know, one of the things that strikes me is she said, you know, he knows I love him. You know, do you all share that? Do you talk about your feelings with one another?
Not really. You know, when we talk on the phone, I tell him, you know, before the call is over, you know, I love you, Dad. You know, but when we first got together, you know, it was a question and answer. You know, I got to ask all those questions that were burning on the inside of me that I always wanted to know.
Would you like to talk about feelings?
I mean, sure. I mean,
and I saw your facial expression earlier.
Okay.
What is your greatest fear with that?
I have no fear about it. I'm just, you know, being the age I am, I think I talked about everything, and I've been just about everywhere. And so when it comes to family and relationships, we all know how we feel about each other, and it is not always a spoken thing. It's always been an acceptable thing.
Let me say that, you know, one of the things I struggle with a lot of times, and I work with families a lot, and I work with men, I work with all types of people. We assume people know what we feel. We assume that things are what they, but sometimes, you know, life is not guaranteed. Life is not guaranteed. And if you don't take the time and verbalize that, and verbalize it from your heart, the other person don't know. So don't assume that it is what it is.
Right.
And I think that sometimes people have a need for that, and he has a need, and I'm hearing that, but my guess is you have a need too. And it's okay. And I think men, especially men, we have this idea, you know, you got to be strong, you can't cry, you know, be tough. But you're human. So you have to be real, because what would be sad is after 40 years to have a superficial relationship. Have a relationship where you can feel and talk about your feelings. Because you can't take back the 40 years, that's gone. But you don't know how many years you have ahead. And with those years you have ahead, why not make the best of it? Don't assume anything, but you have to share. And you have to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes feelings are not always, you know, happy feelings, but it's okay. That's what builds a relationship.
That's really good. Thank you. This is what I'm wondering. I think that was a really good point. What would be your ideal thing to hear your father say?
I just think, for me personally, I think him just reaching out a little bit more and just calling, just to say, hey, what's going on with son? You know, because I live in Tennessee, he lives in Detroit. So I make it a point to try and get up here to Detroit and see him as much as I can with my schedule. But I think just hearing him every now and then, I'm happy and ecstatic of the fact that I'm in his life now. You know, even though there's a big distance, but I'm happy that he's alive, I'm alive, we still can talk, we chat online. That's great. And of course, my daughters, they love him, and I understand his position.
One of the things that I'm hearing, you're still in that honeymoon phase. See, you're still in the honeymoon phase. You know, you're just happy to be here. You know, you just everybody's happy. But what is the one thing do you think you would love to hear from him? Not just being around and being in his presence, but emotionally, what is the one thing you would like to hear from your father that maybe you didn't hear in those 40 years?
just, you know.
Can you tell him that?
Probably just say, I love you, son. You know, I think that for me does a lot, because I tell my daughters that all the time. But I understand how difficult it must have been for him, you know, not being a part of his children's life. Because I know for me, after he was gone out of my life, I said, I could never leave my daughters, because I know that empty feeling in my heart. I wouldn't want them to experience that. And so
if you could hear him say, I love you. But let me ask Dad, what is it you would like to hear from him?
Well, it's kind of difficult to explain, because I've always loved him. I always knew he was out there. I knew he existed. I knew his mother, and I knew his family. So,
but he didn't know you.
Right. But he had met me, though.
At 2, yeah, but he didn't know you, right?
Right.
And what happens with that is, again, we all have needs. And that's just part of it. We all have needs. You have needs. You may not be in touch with your needs. Yeah. But you have those needs.
You have those needs. You know what? This is so good. And I hope what we're going to do is hook you up where you guys could at least finish this conversation with Dr. Sherry. Listen, I know you guys were touched by this. I was touched by this. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Congratulations to the Impact Network and its founders, Apostle Wayne T. and Dr. Beverly Y. Jackson, for now becoming the only African-American founded and operated international Christian TV network, bringing the gospel to Africa, including over 40 countries and 900 million viewers. We salute you.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Talk Show. I want to thank my guests so much. You know, it takes a lot of courage to talk openly about, you know, family issues. Those are very intimate and private places. So I really want to give a special thanks to Mr. Colbert and Ray Walden, and of course, the dynamic celebrity therapist and psychologist, Dr. Sherry Blake. Wonderful, wonderful dialogue. I pray that was a blessing to you. Now, the next part of our show is Reality Watch. Let's see what's going on in reality world. Let's talk about men acting like they like it, but they never want to put a ring on it. For example, Love and Hip Hop reality star music producer Peter Gunz has been in a relationship with Tara Wallace for 10 years. They've had 2 children together and never got married. The next thing you know, he goes out and marries someone else while he's still with Tara, and she has no clue. Come on. Look, let me tell you something. If you don't value yourself, ladies, nobody else gonna do it for you. You got to put a demand. You are valuable. You have to put a demand on them. Beyonce got a best. If you really want it, you better put a ring on it, okay? And listen, not just me talking about putting a ring on it, because I think he probably promised her all those years while they planned house, shacking and things, that he was going to marry her, and then look and see what he did. Now, certainly Mr. Peter probably has had some, I don't know his life, so I don't want to talk too much about that, but I would gather to think there are probably some childhood issues there, fatherlessness there, and when men do that, it's because they're hurting. So you have both parties that need to really be healed. Peter needs to be healed because there's some issues there that really drives him to be a major womanizer publicly on TV. And then, of course, you have ladies that stay with it with the hopes that one day they'll marry him. So anyway, I say make him marry you. Get you a good passer that won't stand for that foolishness, okay? Anyway, till next time, we'll be back on the Jewel Tankard Show. Keep watching. And remember, you can have it all.